This is your sign to quit your job. Now listen, I understand that you are absolutely petrified of the idea of giving up the only semblance of stability that you have in your life right now. I've been there. As a matter of fact, March 9th, 2020, I put in my 2 weeks notice at the last job that I've worked, H&M. And when I put in my 2 weeks notice, I spoke to the head manager. His name was Nick. Shout out to Nick. I spoke to the head manager in the office and I told him, Nick, I have to put in my 2 weeks notice. And he told me, Jordan, I'm going to be honest with you, man. You're breaking my heart right now. But I know that you have this YouTube thing going and you really want to do that. And if that's your dream, then you shouldn't let this job stop you from doing that. And in that moment, I realized something. I realized that Nick's attitude towards life is the reason why he was our boss. Because everybody else that I told I was quitting thought that I was absolutely insane for doing so. And justifiably so, because at the time I was nowhere near getting monetized. As a matter of fact, on YouTube, there are 2 metrics that you need in order to get monetized, and I had not met either of the metrics. And I had $600 to my name. But I had a vision that was worth a lot more than those $600. And so I followed Nick's advice and I quit that job. The encouragement that Nick gave me in that moment, that motivation that he gave me to quit my job and to follow my dreams is what put me in this position right here where I can make this video for you 4 years later. And I want to give you that same encouragement through this video so that one day you can give the same encouragement to somebody else. That said, the first thing you need to know about quitting your job is that there are 2 main factors in quitting your job. There's time and there's money. So what most people do is they choose to continue working at their jobs because they don't have a lot of money. And so all they can see is that they lack money and they fear that once they quit their job, the little money that they have will run out. And while this can potentially happen, it might not. There is a chance that it won't happen. However, with time, there is no chance that your time is not going to run out. And we know this because everybody dies. So in other words, you're on a countdown timer right now. Now listen very, very closely because I'm about to mess your head up. Every day that you don't follow your dreams, every day that you work at that dead end job that you don't want to work at, the risk becomes greater. Meaning, every day that you are choosing to work at your job, the idea of quitting that job becomes riskier because you have less time to recover any losses that you may incur, monetarily speaking. So in other words, if you quit that job and you go broke, you can always go back and get another job. You can maybe even go back and get the same job that you had. But no matter what happens, you can never get the time back that you're working at this job. You can never get the time back. You can get the money back. You can't get the time back. In other words, you are actually taking a much greater risk by working at that job than you are by quitting. Okay, so when we talk about money, again, you can always get the money back. You can never get the time back. So it behooves you to stop thinking in terms of how much money you might lose, because you can gain more money. There is a possibility you can't gain more time. That is never going to happen. The only way you can gain more time is by quitting your job yesterday. And since you can't do that, you should do the second best thing, which is quit your job today. Now, just like I was just saying, you can always go back. If you quit your job today and you go broke in 3 months, you can go back and get another job. And if you fear that you won't be able to get another job, that means one of 2 things. That means either your performance isn't very good or the industry itself is dying, which means that whether you know it or not, you're already on your way out. So you might as well quit while you're still ahead. You might as well quit because if you're not performing, they're going to quit for you. In other words, they're going to lay you off and you're going to end up in the same position anyways, except your pride will be depleted and you'll probably lack the confidence to pursue your dreams full force. And you'll lack the money on top of that. And then you'll be stuck. But in addition to that, if you do quit your job and then go full in on your business and it doesn't work, whenever you do go work another job, you will be much more equipped to work at that job. You will become better at whatever job that you were working at because you will have new skills. Because in order to operate a business, you have to develop new skills. You have to learn how to manage teams, for example. You have to learn how to operate a business. Everything that goes into operating a business is applicable in the context of your job. And this can mean that you'll be more qualified for upper management type positions. If I decided right now, I'm going to go back to H&M, I'm going to go work at H&M, I might start off as a cashier, but I guarantee you that in a year or two, I will be in an upper management position because I understand operations much more than I did from just working at H&M. Again, you can always go back, and when you do go back, if you do go back, hopefully you don't, but if you do, you'll be better. Now, if you have children, if you're in a position where you have children and you're afraid to quit your job because you don't want to put your children in financial jeopardy, let me ask you this. What type of example do you want to set for your children? What type of example would you like to set for your children? Because if you're working at a job that you don't like, remember, your children are like sponges. They are absorbing everything that you not only say, but do. They're observing your behavioral patterns. So if you're choosing to continuously work at a job that they know you don't like, you are conveying to them that that is the way that life is. Therefore, that is what they have to do. And not only that, but you're also actually preventing them from seeing real prosperity, which is not just making more money, but making more money doing something that you love to do. And so why would you rob your children of the exposure to true prosperity? It doesn't make sense. You want to set a good example for your children. That's really what being a good parent is. Parenthood, to my understanding, is about setting a great example for your children. So instead of thinking about how you might not be able to get them a present this Christmas, think about how you can give them a present every day for the rest of their lives by showing them that it is possible to do what they love while making a living in the process, instead of setting them up for a life of misery. Now, what about parents? Speaking of parenthood, what about your parents? Maybe you're working at a cushy corporate job where you have all of these benefits and you have a lot of security, and your parents are very proud of you. As a matter of fact, they use you as a bragging point in conversation with their friends. Well, here's the thing. When you talk about disappointing your parents by quitting your job, you need to understand that your parents are going to come around. The reason why they are afraid to see you pursue the unbeaten path is because they themselves have not done it. So, in other words, because they didn't take that initiative in their lives, because they probably didn't have a reference point for themselves, they don't understand why you're doing what you're doing. And so what you need to do is you need to take it upon yourself to show them. You need to show them instead of trying to tell them. If your children came up to you right now, assuming you have kids, if your children came up to you right now and told you, hey, I'm going to drop out of school to do this, you would think they're crazy. But it's because you haven't been exposed to that other side of life. And they can be the ones to show you. They can be the ones to expose you to that side of life that you've missed out on. And so you need to take it upon yourself to expose your parents as well to the possibilities of true prosperity, which is doing something you love and making money in the process, making a lot of money at that. And not only that, but when they see you do that, they're going to come around. They're going to come around to the path that you've chosen. And if they don't come around, it means that they don't actually love you. Maybe that's a bit dramatic, but it means that they don't want to see you win. They just want you to live out the story that gives them the most status. But that's not your responsibility. That's their responsibility for themselves to establish status in their own lives. It's your responsibility to do what makes you happy, not to live based on the conversations that your parents are going to have with their friends or acquaintances. And this doesn't just apply to parents, this applies to everyone, spouse, friend, whoever. If they don't come around in the end, then they were never in your corner to begin with. And this just serves as a filtering mechanism. You can cut them out of your life because you know that they don't actually want to see you win. And you should never surround yourself with people who don't want to see you win. That said, what is winning? Well, to illustrate this point, there is a quote that I want to share with you. And I actually talked about this in a recent video. But there are two doors in life. One door is marked freedom and the other door is marked security. If you walk through the door marked security, you get neither. If you walk through the door marked freedom, you get both. In my eyes, walking through that door marked freedom makes you a winner. No matter where that door leads to, no matter what that room looks like for you, walking through that door, choosing to walk through that door, that is winning. If you quit that job today, you've already won.